councillors. Thank you, managers. We'll get started. For thousands of years, Aboriginal people have walked this land on their own country as custodians of their Earth Mother. Their unbroken relationship with the land and the sea was and remains to be the centre of their lives. We acknowledge the Gunditjmara people of the past, the present and the future. With gratitude and respect, we recognise their continual relationship, custodianship and their bond to this land and the sea throughout the ages. I'll just acknowledge that the recording of these meetings. To those present in the gallery today, by attending the public meeting of Council, you are consenting to your image, voice and comments being recorded and published. Council meetings may be live streamed and the Chief Executive Officer will enable a copy of the recordings to the public. Receipt of apologies. There are none this evening, CEO. And the confirmation of the minutes, there's a recommendation, councillors, on page 3 for the minutes of the 28th of January. Councillor Robin McDonald.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll move the recommendation that the minutes of the council meeting held on 28th of January 2025 as circulated be confirmed.
Councillor Noski.
Seconded.
Thank you. Is there any comments on the minutes, questions, councillors? If there's nothing, that's moved by Councillor McDonald and second by Councillor Noski. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you. We'll move on to 5.2, the record of councillor briefings. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll move the recommendation that Council receives the record of the councillor briefing held on the 21st of January 2025 and 28th January 2025.
Thank you, Councillor McDonald. Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Carr.
Happy to second, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Any comments, Councillor McDonald? Any questions? Councillor Carr? No? Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor McDonald and second by Councillor Carr. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you. We'll move on to item number 6, the declaration of conflicts of interest. Are there any conflicts of interest at tonight's meeting? Councillor Carr.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. I'd like to declare a conflict of interest with item 11.2, questions from members of the community. It relates to access behind the Foreshore Centre to a private property, and the property is owned by a relative.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. Councillor Angelino.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Conflict of interest, same questions to the
Agenda item 11.2.
11.2,
yes.
Conflict of interest about the Foreshore Centre. I'm a member of the Cards and also the Indoor Bowls.
Thank you, Councillor Angelino. They will be noted. Are there any further conflicts of interest? Thank you. If you do become aware that you have a conflict of interest in any item that's on tonight's paper or discussed during the meeting, please report it and identify it. Thank you, councillors. Thank you. Right, we'll move on to number 7. Councillors' activity reports. Councillor McDonald, do you want to start with this one?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The citizenship ceremony, which happens twice a year here for new citizens, it was a really happy occasion for many new citizens and their families from across the globe who have made our Shire home. It was a really happy day. The other one, Madam Mayor, if I could, the Yacht Club new training vessel launch after a culmination of 2 years of work by members, actually building the boat themselves from a kit form was a very exciting evening, and that arose from donations and a lot of financial support from across the community as well.
Thank you, Councillor McDonald. Councillor Angelino?
Yes, thanks, Madam Mayor. I went to the Blaze Aid activity in Merino, and it was a great morning. I met lots of new people that I hadn't met in in their shire, and the facilities up at that building are fantastic. They have community gardens, they have lots of people come in and have meetings there, and it's a great asset to the community. So it was a great morning. Thanks very much.
And I see that you also welcome passengers back in January from the cruise ship.
Yes, and also attended on last Sunday too, and it was a great adventure.
Yeah.
Met so many people, and they went all through the Shire. Lots of people went through the councils and through the towns, and it was just a great day.
Yeah, it's excellent, isn't it? Yeah, thank you. Councillor Carr, did you want to...
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
I think the highlight of that little period was attending the Hooked on Portland event, and absolutely, man, fantastic weather-wise in Portland, and the final band was fantastic, and there was plenty of people there, plenty of food to eat, and it was well supported and well run. Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Joel.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Two things I want to pull out was the citizenship ceremony that we had here on the 28th. I had the privilege of attending this ceremony where 8 people officially became Australian citizens. It was a great event, and I was felt quite privileged to be a part of that. And the Australia Day ceremony that I went to in Nelson, hosted by the Nelson Tennis Club, it was a very well attended event, and it was a great day.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for doing that. Councillor Pepper.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. A couple of things that attended. First of all, the Merino community had a meeting regarding their pool, and I attended that. And it was a great discussion. There was about 25 people at it, a good discussion, and a lot of action was taken out of that very quickly. So I'd like to thank Mr Aaron Moyne and Miss Jane Miller as acting CEO for getting on and getting that done for the community of Merino. And the second thing was the Australia Day Awards. Like Councillor Jowett, I went to Nelson where there was 100 people there, and they had a good time, and then went on to Merino where there was 80 people at the clean pool, Merino pool, run by the Merino Digby Lions Club, and I got asked to present the Citizen of the Year there from the Merino Digby Lions Club to Helen Northcote, who, as we all know, is the wife of the recently retired Councillor John Northcote, and that was well received. And I'd also just, Madam Mayor, can I just say too, by going to both these locations on the day, those communities like the Nelson Tennis Club and the Merino Digby Lions Club were very appreciative of the Glenelg Shire for giving them the funds to hold these community events for Australia Day at their community. So I just wanted to pass that on to Council. Thank you.
Councillor Pepper, the Merino pool, do they have their access steps in now?
Yes.
They do. Are they enjoying those?
I believe so. It's enabled all people of all ages to be able to access the pool now and all abilities.
It's good. Good to see. All right, councillors. Certainly, January is a sort of quieter month, as everybody can see. It's obviously still we have our meetings, but most of the functions around government, etc., are all closed up. I too attended the launch of the new safety boat, and I have to say, congratulations to the Portland Yacht Club. You know, they made that boat themselves, and it's a commercial standard. It's just absolutely amazing, and I had the pleasure of doing a boat tour around the harbour on that evening, which was really interesting, and got to know all about how they put that project together and how many rescues they do each year. And when you compare it with their existing tinny, which looks a tinny compared to their new rescue boat, it certainly is going to be a valuable asset, not just to the club, but to the Portland community and beyond. And of course, as some councillors have suggested, we conferred 8 new Glenelg Shire Australian citizens back in January as well. I'll just take a moment to thank all councillors that attended community events throughout January, and thank you for your commitment to the community. There is a recommendation that I always turn that page over. There's a recommendation on page 7, councillors, the council notes the councillor activity reports 1st of January to the 31st of January 2025. Councillor Carr.
Happy to move the recommendation, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. Second of Councillor Pepper. Any further discussion? No, I'll put that motion. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Councillors, we will move on. We have a notice of motion on the books this evening. Councillor Carr.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to suggest, given it's your notice of motion, that you have the honours of reading it out.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor Carr. I have submitted a notice of motion for tonight's meeting, and I'll read the motion out formally. The Council writes to the Premier of Victoria, the Honourable Jacinta Allen, the Minister for Emergency Services, the Honourable Vicky Ward MP, the Minister for Local Government, Nick Starkos MP, and the Member for South West Coast, Roma Britnell MP, and the Member for Lowan, Emma Keeley MP, to express our concerns in relation to the undue burden placed on Council collecting the Emergency Services and Volunteer Fund, and request that the fund be managed and collected by the State Government. Councillor Carr.
Happy to second.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. Councillors, if you could just indulge me, I'll give some background to this particular motion. The Victorian Government introduced the Fire Service Levy in July 2013 as a property-based levy, which replaced the insurance-based Fire Services Levy as recommended by the Victorian Bushfire Royal Commission. From the introduction of the levy, local councils have been responsible for the collection of the levy through the annual rates, and any non-payment is it the task of council to recover the funds through standard recovery procedures. Recently, the state government wrote to all councils advising that the Fire Services Property Levy will be replaced by the Emergency Service and Volunteer Fund as of the 1st of July this year. Whilst I acknowledge the importance of adequate funding for emergency services, I do not agree that council should be the collection agency for a statewide tax. Local councils, through their property rating systems, are currently tasked with collecting over $839.5 million annually in state levies, which creates significant administration complexities and diverts resources from essential local government functions. This responsibility, particularly as it applies to a statewide tax, such as the Emergency Services and Volunteer Fund, places undue burden on councils. I believe that the collection of this fund should be managed directly by the state government rather than local government to ensure a more streamlined and effective process for all parties involved. Councillor Carr, did you wish to make any comment?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. Look, firstly, thank you for putting this notice of motion forward. It's very timely. There's a lot of concern in the community about the cost, but that's not what the notice of motion is about. It is about taking up council staff, council resources to do a job that the state government should be doing. We need to focus on to the community, our roads, collection of rates, rubbish and infrastructure. And look, and the community needs to understand that when these fees do get placed on the council and we have to send them out to be collected, they go on the rate notice. So the ratepayers, they believe it's the council. And it's very hard to differentiate. So we need to send these letters. I fully support your motion. And I hope that the state government changes the pathway that it's chosen to collect this money from the community.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. Councillors, I should ask, is there any questions or clarification on the motion this evening on the table? Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Would you like to share that letter? Would you like to share that letter with the...
We will certainly put a letter together.
Thank you.
Yeah, and perhaps you're confusing the letters, not this letter.
Oh, yes, no.
Sorry,
No.
that's all right. That's all right. I might make just some closing comments that, you know, councils across Victoria are always grappling with cost shifting from the state government, and this fire services levy, or now called the Emergency Service and Volunteer Fund, is another way that we're seeing more cost shifting onto council. There is not the adequate funds that are afforded from the state government to councils to administer this role. So it's certainly, you know, there's a big call across the state from councils, particularly rural councils, that are impacted severely by this impetus on we become the collection agency for the state government levy, that we just can't keep wearing the cost shifting from the state government. But in particular, this particular levy sits fair and square with the state government. If there's no further comments or questions, etc., I'll move the notice of motion, or the motion that is now on the table. It's been moved by myself and second by Councillor Carr. Those in favour? Thank you. I'm sure we'll hear more about this as the weeks go on. Councillors, we move on to our management reports. The first one is 9.1, response to the notice of motion, Portland Town Entry, landscaping maintenance. Mr Moyne.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, I present this report to Council in response to the notice of motion regarding the Portland Town Entry mowing, landscaping maintenance along the Henty Highway. The report outlines existing management arrangements and maintenance responsibilities between the Department of Transport and Planning and Council. The Henty Highway between Crows Road and New Street in Portland is the responsibility of DTP to manage and maintain, with no formalised maintenance agreement in place between Council and DTP. Historically, Council has undertaken landscaping maintenance when required, which does come at a direct cost to Council. The Portland Town Entry is just one of many examples of this arrangement across the Shire, which does require further review. Officers are continuing to liaise with DTP regarding their current maintenance program and future arrangements, with a focus on meeting community expectations whilst minimising costs to Council. And as it currently stands, the Henty Highway Town Entry into Portland has had a section mode, with further work to be undertaken by DTP contractors. Information has been sought from the department with no response provided to date. Recommendation provided for you.
Thank you, Mr Moyne. Councillors, any questions seeking clarification on this item? Councillor Carr.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor, and thanks to Mr Moyne for meeting with the DTP. Did they state, I think you already answered this, but did they state whether they have a current maintenance program for that section of grass and vegetation at any time during the discussions?
Thank you. Mr Moyne.
Through you, Madam Mayor. The department have indicated that they have a mowing program that's being undertaken for the western part of the state and towards the SA border at the moment, and officers have sought some clarification as to how that relates to roads within Glenelg Shire, but no information has been provided regarding the program to this point.
Thank you, Mr Moyne.
And if we, I noticed in the recommendation that we need to do further negotiations. If we do land on one, will you update the council and the community as to where we land? Sorry,
Thank you.
now I should have come through. Yeah.
That's all right. That's all right. Thank you. Mr Moyne.
Certainly, thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, certainly officers will continue to update councillors regarding any information that does come to hand, and the appropriate information that may be able to be provided to community regarding any maintenance and mowing program moving ahead, along with any management arrangements that might be in place. There are a number of aspects to this in terms of future funding that may be provided to council and management programs, and we need to continue working through that with the department.
Thank you. Councillor Noski.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Mr Moyne, can you just, for the sake of those people who might be watching this meeting remotely or look at it later, can you just clarify exactly which bits of the road we're talking about that that are Vic Road's responsibility to maintain and where the council's responsibility ends and theirs starts?
Mr Moyne.
I'll do my best, Madam Mayor. So essentially, council's responsibility or arrangement in place for maintenance within Portland extends from New Street, so where the Bunnings site's being developed at the moment, towards the south, so anywhere further north from New Street and Madeira Packet Road, running up north towards the Princes Highway, and then beyond that is a Department of Transport responsibility. Certainly outside of townships across the Shire on the majority of state-managed roads, department's responsible for managing and maintaining those roads as well. So there is a difference between local roads that council manage, and we have quite a large road network across the Shire, and those states arterial or major highways itself as well.
So, Mr Moyne, it's sort of when you hit the 80-kilometre mark, it's on those arterial roads?
Yeah, essentially.
Basically,
Yes.
in round terms.
Yeah.
Once you hit the 80-kilometre, you're outside the local council roads in the 60 kilometres, and then you go to 80, and it's basically the Department of Transport and Planning. Mr Moyne, just seeking clarification for perhaps the audience, is the Department of Transport and Planning is basically Vic Roads?
Yes,
Yes.
through you, Madam Mayor, yes. So Vic Roads is now just the licensing agency for state government. So the Department of Transport and Planning and Transport Victoria is a sub-department responsible for road management across the state. There's a number of different teams and functions within that department, so don't get confused with the name.
We don't get confused. That's how we don't get confused. And Mr Moyne, just clarifying for the record, we estimate it should be in excess of $200,000 to do that section of road and keep it maintained throughout the year. So, I mean, that's the type of ask we're asking for from the state government. And in some ways, when we look at our budget, we think, oh, 200,000, that's a lot for us to take out of our budget, the 200,000 when we could be spending it on our community. So thank you for your report, Mr Moyne, and thank you for your continued negotiation with the department to make sure that they adhere to their side of the bargain. And I'm sure if the shoe was on the other foot, they would be making us maintain our road to a standard. Councillors, there is and look, Councillor Carr, thank you for bringing this forward in a notice of motion at a previous meeting. Councillor Noski.
I was just going to ask Councillor Carr if, having brought the notice of motion forward, he wants to now move the recommendation.
I'm sure he's able to do that. Councillor Carr, would you like to move that recommendation?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I'd like to move the recommendation that Council 1 receives this report in response to the notice of motion regarding Portland Town entry mowing and landscaping maintenance along the Henty Highway between Crows Road and New Street, Portland. 2, notes that council officers will undertake further negotiations with the Department of Transport Planning regarding landscaping maintenance contributions for 24-25 in successive financial years with an aim of cost recovery and minimising any direct cost to council.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. Councillor Noski.
Second the motion, please.
Thank you. Councillor Carr, anything further?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Look, I would like to point out that Council's been working on this since August 2024, and I think it's important that the community understands that. Although it's not Council's responsibility, we do care about the way things are presented, and we have been working on this for a long time. I am still embarrassed every time I drive into town. I am still frustrated, Madam Mayor, that even with the increased press, the increased advocacy, we still haven't been able to get the whole lot mowed. Yes, they did do some, but it wasn't what we've been asking for. And I trust that Vic Roads will come to the party sooner rather than later and start mowing that section of road and maintaining the vegetation to a level that meets the expectations of our community.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. Councillor Noski, any comment?
Yeah, if I could, thanks. The state of that part of road, the condition of the median strips and the sides of the road were one of the issues that were most brought up to me during the election campaign, and universally the statement from people was as Councillor Carr just said, they're embarrassed to drive into their own town, their own city. And it's always hard to explain that, in fact, it's a Vic Road's responsibility. I note that the bit from New Street to Darts Road is looking fairly spectacularly good at the moment, and I was about to comment on that today, and I was told that Council actually intervened and did it because we were embarrassed about it as an organisation too. So I think it's important that ratepayers know that there is a significant cost if they expect us to do it, but that in fact it is a Vic Roads state government responsibility, and this is an effort to make them do it to a standard that is applicable with the entry to a major city in the area. Thanks.
Thank you. If there's no further comments or questions, the motion was moved by Councillor Carr and seconded by Councillor Noski. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Councillors, we'll move on to 9.2, the response to the local government minister. There's a recommendation there on page 17. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll move the recommendation that Council approves the draft response letter to the Minister for Local Government, and 2, approves the draft updated action plan in response to the Municipal Monitor recommendations.
Thank you. A seconder, please. I missed that. Can we try who was first? Councillor Jowett. Thank you. Sorry, you were too quick, you two. All right. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The action plan is the result of monitors coming into our council, which were here just before my first one-year term, and it's been a very extensive assessment of how we're going and a very intensive plan moving forward, which I think we're doing really, really well with, and there'll be a final report come back to council as well on this situation. So I think we're doing everything that we've been requested and moving forward very nicely. Yeah, yes. Would you mind reading that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
If councillors could indulge me, I'll just so you understand the response. The CEO has put forward a draft letter for council to include in this motion. We have congratulated the new minister on his appointment, and then detailed that as of the 26th of November last year, we received correspondence from the local government minister outlining the recent reforms to the Local Government Act of 2020, seeking a written response within 4 months regarding council or commitment to upholding the integrity, respect and good government obligations under the Act. In this regard, we are telling the Minister we can confirm that the new council team has participated in an extensive councillor induction process, which has included elements over and above the minimum mandatory requirements outlined in the regulations. The induction program also included a number of sessions around the role of councillor and the differentiating between the role of that role and that of the CEO. In councillors' enthusiasm, learn all about the facets of council. The differentiation between operational and strategic matters will continue to be a focus moving forward, with further advice and discussion being undertaken for continual proactive development of council. The final session to complete the councillor induction was scheduled for which we did on the 19th of February, which was due before the deadline. The Deputy Mayor and myself, we undertook our mandatory training on the 12th of December. And in respect to Council's commitment to consider and adopt advice provided by the Municipal Monitor, we've referred him to the updated action plan that's included. And the action plan will be finalised once we consider the final report from the Monitor. Additionally, it's noted we received further correspondence on the 17th of December from the Minister, who was pleased to able to inform, and we were pleased to be able to inform, we made two recommendations. Review and adopt the updated councillor and CEO interaction policy that's due in the first year of office, and review the timelines for reporting of briefings and meetings as soon as practical after the October 24 council elections. In relation to the councillor's staff and interaction policy that you inquired about, council adopted a revised policy on the 17th of December, which sets out the appropriate methods of communication between staff and councillors, and removed any reference to previous councillor request systems. The election of 4 new councillors in the October general election, has been a good opportunity to refresh the approach and confirm that this in a revised policy. In regards to meeting timeframes, the CEO has introduced revised meeting cycles to allow additional council briefings between monthly council meetings. This process provides more time and opportunity for discussing items that are to be presented to council at the up-and-coming council meeting. Since the election, the council group now meets at greater frequency and receives regular updates on organisational activities and programs of works, including capital works. We are refining this process as it takes time to bed down, and we are working closely with the CEO on how we can continue to improve together with a collaborative working style. And as we talk about the final report from the municipal monitors, that is just a reflection of the letter to the Minister, councillors. Are there any clarifications on the action plan update or the letter to the Minister in relation to his request? Thank you. The motion has been moved by Councillor McDonald and seconded by Councillor Jar. Those in favour? Thank you. I just take a moment to thank the CEO for her diligence in the induction process that we've gone through with the new council since our election, CEO, and thank you and your team for the support that they've given the new council. So thank you. Councillors. 9.3, the lease agreement between the Glenelg Shire Council and the Portland RSL sub-branch. Mr Holt.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Following on from August last year, where Council rescinded a previous lease arrangement with the RSL, outlined its intention to go into a new lease. The term of the lease required community consultation. That community consultation has now been completed, and the recommendation is to proceed with the lease for 10 years with 2 by 5 year options.
Thank you, Mr Hall. Councillors, anybody seeking clarification on the report tonight? Councillor Noski.
No. Wanting to move the motion.
Mr Hall, just in relation to us going out for community consultation, was that triggered by a requirement under the Local Government Act?
Yes, Madam Mayor, any lease, including its options that are over 10 years, is required to be subjected to community consultation.
And certainly we had full and open discussion with the RSL sub-branch about their lease and their desire to have a longer term lease, which triggered that community consultation, and they were along the journey with us the whole way?
Correct, Madam Mayor. The initial lease was for 9 years, and the RSL were after a longer lease, and there was certainly some discussion about the pros and cons of that, and that was, as I said, brought to a head at the council meeting last year, in which council agreed to look at offering a longer lease subject to the results of the community consultation.
Thank you, Mr Hall. Councillors, as you can see, sometimes the Local Government Act will trigger certain actions that this council has to undertake. So we've fulfilled all of our requirements, and the motion is on the table for you this evening. Is there a mover of the motion? Councillor Noski.
Yeah. Madam Mayor, I'd like to move that Council approves the new lease with the Portland RSL Sub-Branch Incorporated for the premises at 21 Percy Street, Portland, for a period of 10 years with 2 5-year extensions for a rental figure of $1 per annum. And 2, that we authorise the Director of Corporate Services to finalise and sign the documents relating to the proposed lease in Part 1 of this resolution.
Thank you, Councillor Carr.
Happy to second, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Noski.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I think people may not understand that implicit in this also is the fact that this was a building that was delivered, I think, out of a trust or something, and wasn't previously a council asset. And as part of this, council is also taking over the obligations to maintain the building, and so it is actually a significant offer of support to the RSL going forward, which I think of anybody that has in their family return service people, you'd know that that's something that as a community we really do need to provide, and utterly endorse what's been done.
Thank you. Councillors, anybody wishing to speak against the motion? Councillor Carr, did you wish to make a comment?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. Look, I think this is a fantastic outcome for the Portland RSL sub-branch. I do thank the staff. I understand this has been a bit of an undertaking, but yeah, there was no discussion. It was always going to be leased to the RSL sub-branch, I'm sure, from my point of view, and it's good that we've got a long-term lease on the table, and I trust that each councillor will support the recommendation that's tabled tonight.
Thank you. Councillor Pepper, did you want to make a comment?
I just endorse the words that have already been said. And the more that we can to help out RSL, with those people that sort of fought for country and a better life and ultimate sacrifice. So I think it's a given, like Councillor Carr said and like Councillor Noski. Madam Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, there's nothing further. The motion has been moved by Councillor Noski and seconded by Councillor Carr. Those in favour? Carried. The quarterly finance report. Mr Hall.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The quarterly finance report as at the end of December is provided for councillor consideration. Some key points: the total income, once we take away the carry forward, is actually tracking very close to forecast. Expenses are tracking well. Employee expenses are underspent at the moment, noting that the council EBA arrangements have not been finalised to date. Our material and services are now tracking slightly over. They've been tracking under for some time, so that's sort of reflecting a little bit of works programs literally hitting the ground as we speak. Our balance sheet, Madam Mayor, now reflects the increased asset valuation as outlined in last year's financial audit. And our cash balance at the end of December was down slightly to $5 million. However, with rate payments due in February, we expect that to pick up, and that will have an impact about when we look at having to draw down our loan compared to how our capital works expenditure is tracking. In regards to capital works, total $4.5 million as at the end of December, which is an increase of 2.8. And as mentioned before, we accept another significant uplift in this particular quarter. Madam Mayor, the mid-year report also has a requirement under the Local Government Act to declare via the CEO if there's any revised budget required. The report outlines that we have come across a number of variances, both favourable and unfavourable within the budget, and they're outlined in the report. Some of those variations are known, some are yet to be determined. Overall, it's the recommendation to the CEO who signed that a revised budget is not required under section 97(3) of the Act.
Thank you, Mr Hall. Councillors, any questions seeking clarification? Councillor Carr.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. Not so much a question about the report. I think it's more a question about the change in frequency in which we received the report. So this set of year-to-date financials is the first time that the new council's seen it. The last copy that councillors received was in October, and they were year-to-date, dated September. Are we able to get an explanation as to why the frequency has changed, Madam Mayor?
Thank you, Councillor Carr. Mr Hall?
Madam Mayor, the requirement under the Local Government Act is for quarterly finance reports. I'm happy to defer to the CEO if there's anything further to add.
No, thank you, Ms Mayor. It's just to meet the requirements of the Act.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Carr. Any further questions, councillors? Councillor John.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just had a question about the carry forward. This is for those of the residents that aren't down with how these reports fully work, because I'm not even fully down and I've been following it for years. The carry forward of the capital works has the value of $17.69 million, but our cash balance is only just over $5 million. We'd like to get a clarification on that, if I could.
Through the Mayor, so there's a number of factors to that rationale. First of all, our total income for the year has not been finalised. As mentioned, we do have our rating income coming in this particular month. We also have to pay for those capital works, in addition the $7 million loan that I actually mentioned. And the third factor in that is some of the capital works do have timelines, which means further income is not payable until there's those certain milestones that have met. Having said that, the finances to complete the capital works is and has been for some time quite tight. We are aware already that there's likely to be some capital works that are extended out past the 30th of June, and we're trying to finalise them as soon as it becomes apparent.
Thank you, Mr Hall.
Thank you.
Councillors, there's a recommendation there tabled on page 21. Do I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Angelino.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. I reckon we received the quarterly financial report for the period ending December 2024. 2, we note the budget variations that have been incurred to date for the 2025 financial year, and 3, that notes that the CEO has determined that a revised budget is only required under this time as required by Section 97-3 of the Local Government Act 2020.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Carr.
Happy to second, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Angelino, did you want to talk to the motion?
No, I think we've had discussion, and in future we'll get some more discussion as we go through the year and plan our budget for the next ongoing year.
Thank you. Councillor Carr.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. Look, we're in an okay position at the moment, and it's good to see that we haven't had to draw down on any borrowings. And with the final rate instalments due in February, touch wood, hopefully we don't have to draw down on any borrowings this financial year.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. Councillors, and I also note that there are unbudgeted cost-shifting expenses in this report as well for vaccination programs of $40,000. So there's been a change in the way the state government are doing business with local government again. Thank you, councillors. Just thought I'd note that. CEO. Again. We'll add it up at the end of the year, councillors, how much extra has been cost shifted onto local government. The motion has been moved by Councillor Angelino and seconded by Councillor Carr. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Okay. 9.5 is the Regional Community Sport Infrastructure Fund, round 2 applications. Mr Moyne.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report is provided regarding round 2 of the Regional Community Sports Infrastructure Fund, being a competitive program through the Victorian Government, open to rural and regional councils. aimed at delivering new and upgraded community sports infrastructure to provide increased opportunities for participation and recreation. Noting funding criteria and guidelines, including the contributory financial contribution requirements for council, an assessment has been undertaken of potential projects which are best positioned to align with the intent of the fund and submit as a funding application. These projects include the Fitzgerald Street Stadium upgrade to be submitted within the planning stream of the fund, focused on carrying out planning and design work for the delivery of refurbishment and upgrades of existing amenities within the stadium. This facility is currently used by basketball, squash, racquetball and table tennis, with identified upgrades required based on current facility operational needs and through engagement with user groups. And also the second project being the Hayward Pool amenities upgrade to be submitted as part of the All Abilities stream, with funding identified to be utilised to complete the detailed design and construction of both a new reception and kiosk and amenities at the facility. This would build upon previous work undertaken by council around feasibility, facility orders and master planning, along with community engagement undertaken locally. Total project costs and council contribution requirements are outlined in the report, with a council contribution of $260,000 if the funding is successful. As the applications have a future financial commitment for council, endorsement is sought from council for both the applications to be prepared and submitted and included within budget preparation for the 2025-26 financial year, pending the funding outcomes. Stakeholder engagement has previously been undertaken and will continue for both projects, with relevant user groups and stakeholders engaged with. An application for funding for the amenities upgrade planning at the Fitzgerald Street Stadium would not prejudice any future multi-purpose stadium project or other capital project that council might undertake in the future. The recommendations provided before you.
Thank you, Mr Moyne. Council, any clarification needed on this report?
No.
If not, there's a recommendation there tabled on page 25. Councillor McDonald.
Given that it's a Hayward project.
Oh, so
How about we just allow councillors to move the motion? Councillor McDonald has moved. A seconder? Councillor Carr.
give it a second, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's fantastic to see the Director and their teams on the ball, watching out for funding for all these opportunities, and to be ready if those funding opportunities are successful is what we need to put in place. So, yes, very happy to support this.
Councillor Carr.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. Look, firstly, thank you to the staff. I mean, both these particular locations are on our priority projects list, and they're a subset of what needs to be done at those facilities. And you talk about the Hayward Pool. I mean, there's been some massive advocacy done by the local residents up there, and the utilisation's up around 1,000 people from what I've been told over the last summer period. So it'd be good to get those amenities upgraded, and hopefully the utilisation continues to grow. But we talk about the Fitzgerald Street Stadium. It's overutilised. We do need more courts. The amenities are absolutely no good. And personally, I wouldn't have supported it if the upgrade to the amenities at this point would prejudice, obviously, getting the whole facility upgrade. So I welcome the comments from Mr Moyne that upgrading the amenities, which does need doing in the short term, from what I've been told, won't impact the the end goal of a multi-purpose round ball facility that suits all the user groups out there and provides enough courts so that everyone who wants to play gets to play at a reasonable time. Important. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. Anyone wishing to speak against the motion? There's nothing further. The recommendation as tabled on page 25 has been moved by Councillor McDonald and seconded by Councillor Carr. Those in favour? Carried. We'll go to 9.6, the Glenelg Shire Council Plan, U4 second quarter performance report. Ms Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There's a resolution before you to approve the document for publication. Just a few comments before we pass over to councillors for any potential questions. Some highlights are on page 13. We do participate in the Regional Drought Recovery and Relief Working Group, and some priority projects through that is some promotion of the grant fund that's available for people in the agricultural sector, and also we're doing some work on improving groundwater usage. There's a working group looking at that as well. On page 16, I thought I'd point out an acronym that people may not know, which is CRES, C-R-E-S. That's Central Enrolment and Central Registration and Enrolment Services. We receive some localised funding from the state to work on projects in our early years sector to make enrolment more equitable and streamlined for our local families. I think that project from memory is, oh, I haven't got it on in front of me, sorry, Madam Mayor. I think it was delayed, and I commented on that because we're scoping up use of those funds at the moment for a project. On page 28, the Haywood Rec Reserve Master Plan is mentioned. I just wanted to mention that the staff were at the Wood, Wine and Roses Festival on the weekend, starting the consultation and discussions around the draft reserve plan. Page 36, just pointing out to the community, we will be in Haywood for the March Council meeting. And on page 18, we've got some discussion around early years, and I might pass over to the Deputy Mayor, Madam Mayor, in regards to some advocacy work we've been doing at a South West regional level on early years. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, through the Chair. Thank you, Director Miller. And I'd really like to thank Director Miller and her team for the incredible work that's been done on an early learning workforce plan, which I was able to deliver a hard copy to Dan Tehan, Member for Wannon, on Friday, and also Opposition Minister for Early Learning, Angie Bell. They were down at Warrnambool to speak with members of Deakin, members of regional councils as well, to discuss a potential upgrade to one of their facilities to provide a degree in early childhood learning, which would help fill some of those areas of concern which we have when we're losing work. The workforce in the early learning area is a huge problem for the entire state, not just our shire. But it's a progressive problem, losing staff because of the conditions in terms of quotas and different reasons for the stress in those areas, and particularly when we have people that are not trained up to the degree qualification. So this advocacy is all about a joint South West approach to encourage government support of a $5 million upgrade to a facility on the Deakin campus, which is in a perfect location, very accessible for parents dropping off children at a location just a few hundred metres down the road, but also for people to come and train in those roles, to get those people on the ground. And the common message to the ministers was, we need to train people from our areas to retain them in our areas in that sector, because the $50,000 incentive that they put out last year did not attract one person in that sector to come and work in the region, in our shire anyway. So yeah, it was a very positive day. It was a very good open discussion about the situation, and no government that's going to guarantee every family 3 days a week childcare is going to work if there's no workers in those facilities. So it was a very frank and open discussion, and the ministers were listening.
Thank you, Councillor McDonald. Thank you. Councillors, is there any seeking of any clarification on this report? Councillor Angelina.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. To Director Miller, thanks for all this report. How it must take a long time to get all this report and all the parts of it together. On page 20, there was a developer framework to support our ageing population across the Shire. I just wanted a bit of clarification about, it says the initiative was complete. I just wondered if you could give me some more, sometime later, what was that initiative, how was it completed in the Shire?
Yep. Thank you, Madam
Thank you,
Mayor.
Ms Miller.
Yes, off the back of the exit from the Aged and Disability Service in late 2023, there was also a framework developed to start to think about how we could do more with our ageing population in the Shire. That has morphed into a grant funding opportunity that we've got into our current community grant funding policy, which the team have been working on scoping up to launch hopefully very soon, so we can enable some projects out in the Shire to support our ageing population.
Thank you very much. Because I know our population is ageing and we need some more services, and if we can get some more grant, it'll be a fantastic outcome for the Shire. Thanks,
Welcome.
Thanks, Councillor Angelino. Councillor Pepper.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I was just interested to see if there's... I'm very interested in the Caston Sale Yards. So the funding opportunities there, are they looking like that they're forthcoming?
Mr Moyne.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for the question, Councillor Pepper. As we've touched upon, we're continuing to monitor funding opportunities. The sale yards are obviously operational at the moment. There's been some recent investment by Council to improve the condition of the facility to meet certain WorkSafe requirements and to respond to building maintenance and building renewal aspects there. As we move forward, there's a bigger piece and discussion for Council to have regarding the future of the sale yards itself, future investment for upgrades to obviously meet animal welfare and operational requirements, that type of thing. So we'll look to take that forward for councillor consideration and ensuring the sale yards has the right plan in place to then align with future funding opportunities.
Thank you, Mr Moyne. Any further questions, Councillor Pepper?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Joel.
I'll let him go first.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, I've got a question in relation to our priority projects on page 5, specifically around the multi-purpose sporting facility. It's showing up as delayed. I'm just wondering what plans the exec has to get that project back on track.
Thank you. Mr Moyne.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Happy to take the question. Thank you, Councillor Carr. Councillor Carr, there's clearly been significant history with a multi-purpose stadium, and clearly as it stands at the moment, it is a priority project for council as referred to within the council plan. That history even goes back to 2010 initially, where some site selection and investigation work was undertaken. Further stakeholder engagement has happened over the years. In 2022, council made an application through the Building Better Regions Fund for approximately $40 million facility at the Fitzgerald Street Stadium site for a multi-purpose sporting facility. That did include gymnastics at the time as being a sports component of that facility. However, it must be said, even referring back to previous updates in action plan and council plan updates, that things have changed over the last year or so. Consultation is occurring with stakeholder groups, but using examples of funding that council's received that council didn't necessarily advocate for the gymnastics facility has changed the project slightly. So there's state government funding being directed into a upgrade of the gymnastics facility at Yarraman Park. In addition, again, state government funding received through the Portland Diversification Fund for freight road upgrades, which includes the Fitzgerald Street upgrade itself to service industrial development in that area. Essentially changes the needs and aspects of the project previously submitted and put forward at the Fitzgerald Street site itself that requires further review. As it stands for council moving forward, the project still remains a priority, but there does need to be some further work undertaken initially internally to review the project itself, its history, information that's in place, and importantly, as we've heard as officers recently talking to stakeholders and user groups around their future needs regarding any large-scale recreational facility, that needs to take into account site selection, suitability, investment and financial capacity of the council and future management and operational leads. So to get to the question, Councillor Carr, the approach moving forward would be that initially officers would look to undertake an internal review regarding the project itself. build the engagement and communication relationship with the relevant user groups and stakeholders, and then moving forward potentially into the next financial year, looking at how we take the project forward regarding project planning, any plans, reports or information that needs to be updated to identify the plans or suitability of the site, and then take that forward to look at funding opportunities. And whilst there aren't necessarily funding opportunities available as it stands, there potentially are funding options or opportunities that might come up through federal programs such as the Regional Partnerships and Precincts program. That does provide for up to $50 million with no contributory funding requirement for council for large-scale recreational and capital projects such as this. But I know this is a long-winded answer. There is a lot to work through regarding the project itself. So it remains high on our priority list and a focus for officers as it stands at the moment.
Thank you, Mr. Wine. It might be a long-winded answer, but a very good answer. Thank you. Good information. Councillor Jarl.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is a very detailed and lengthy report on the council plan for 21-25. A few questions I had. On page 4, for the Portland Foreshore, about the remaining lights that haven't yet been installed, I would just like to know when they would be looking at being put in.
Mr. Moyne, are we able to answer that? Or
I'll see some clarification. Sorry, ma'am.
Because it says here that the lights along the Portland Foreshore,
the completion of the
90%
lighting
complete,
program.
and then the remaining lights on the marina and the town jetty have yet to be completed. I'd just like to know when they are looking to get put in.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, I might need to seek some clarification on that. My understanding regarding the Portland Foreshore lighting project is that component is largely complete as being funded through RDB. So it may be a correction that's required.
Maybe a timing thing.
That's correct. It also, I think that's probably a good aspect there. This report was completed and prepared for end of December. So timing's a little bit skewed here. We're ultimately nearly towards the end of February, so recognise that this report's presented until December 30.
Thank you, Mr. Moyne.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Jarl.
Just trying to find some that I've got a lot of notes in here. Bear with me. Sorry to be holding you up. On page 17, it's got about the expand the traineeships and apprenticeships program within the Glenelg Shire. It says it has been completed. I'd just like to know a little bit more about it.
Sorry, Councillor.
Just on the expand the traineeships and apprenticeship program within the Glenelg Shire. It says this has been completed. I'd just like a little bit more information on what that entails.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Ms.
I
Millen.
can probably start that off, and Director Moyne may like to speak to the apprenticeship program probably. We run trainees through the Children's Services team to achieve their Certificate 3, partner with West Vic and South West TAFE in doing so. And also we run some business administration trainees as well. And of note, our recent graduate is nominated for Trainee of the Year through South West TAFE, so we wish her all the best. We've put that on our Facebook page today, and her name's Sierra Vasta. So it's a very successful program, and we obviously, through Children's Services, look to retain, grow our own and retain staff in the sector. And also within our own broader council services, we've retained Sierra over into the IT department as well. So a good success story there. And did you want to talk to me?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you,
Madam Mayor. Other great examples that we've had recently were a mechanic apprentice that had worked with council for 4 years, completing his apprenticeship program. He has now moved on to another job opportunity, but he certainly played an important role in the team in servicing fleet and plant that we do have and learning on the job. In addition to that, we also recently had a Parks and Gardens staff member complete an apprenticeship in horticulture, and he's sticking on with the Parks and Gardens team at the moment in an ongoing fixed term position as it currently stands at the moment, and applying the skills that he's been able to obtain. In addition, there is potentially budget and future opportunities for council to take on other trainees in certain areas such as mechanics and parks and gardens and other areas.
Great.
Thank you, Mr Wine. Thank you, Ms Miller.
That was great news. Another one I've got here is on page 19, that council will explore opportunities to activate vacant or empty shop fronts throughout the Glenelg Shire. Just like a bit more information on that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This one comes up, I think, every quarter. We just haven't had a funding opportunity, I guess, that aligns with this program. If we do find something that maybe businesses can take up, we do share that with our database. But this one continues to stay on the books for now and may be a carryover discussion for the new council plan if we can't achieve any real progress.
Thank you, Ms Miller. And
I think that will do it. Thank you,
thank you, Councillor Charlotte. Councillors, there's no further clarification that's been sought. There is a recommendation on page 28. Councillor Carr.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I'd like to move the recommendation that Council endorses the Glenelg Shire Council Plan Quarter 2 Performance Report for Year 4 of the 2021-2025 Council Plan and approves the document for publication.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. Is there a seconder? Councillor Angelino. Councillor Carr, any further comments?
Yes, thanks, Madam Mayor. Look, this is a fantastic document as a councillor, and look, it was a priority for the ratepayers and the general community of the Glenelg Shire that they be kept informed on council's performance and strategic alignment in accordance with the council plan. And you look back over the past 4 years, there's been an absolute power of work done by council, the staff, the executive team to deliver for our community. It's just absolutely amazing, actually, when you see all those ticks. And I would like to emphasise that, and you'll probably do this as well, but we're halfway through, or we're in the initial phases of doing our next council plan, Madam Mayor. And, you know, there's generally the 6 key themes, and it's very important that all community members, ratepayers, get engaged. Provide us feedback, tell us what you want. This document, or the council plan, provides the strategic framework for the council. What we deliver on, it's how we operate. So please, if you see any of the sessions come up or you can't get to one of the sessions, go onto the website and provide us your feedback so that it can be included in the next 4-year council plan.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. Councillor Angelino.
Yeah, I also back up Mick Carr for the talking on this motion recommendation. So last week we went to Casson, and it's so important to get out into the community and just have a one-on-one with people. And we made sure that it's their prerogative to have a say about the future of our council for the next 4 years. We have lots of information that people may not be satisfied, but it's their chance to actually have a say, and that's what we're all here for, back up our community. So thanks very much for the opportunity, and it's great that we can get this plan for the next 4 years.
Thank you.
Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And I'll take up Councillor Carr's comments in relation to the performance report. And you're quite right, Councillor Carr. This is a direct reflection of what the community asked for nearly 4 years ago when the council was elected. And the opportunity is now for members of the community to tell us what they want, how they want to see their natural environment, what they want to see industry and employment opportunities to be, what their neighbourhood and their lifestyle is within their community, what the transport technology and access is going to be, and of course the health and well-being. All of those things, unless we have it in our plan for the next 4 years, which we need to adopt under the legislation by the end of October, unless the community tell us what they want and we put it into our plan, then it won't be delivered. So, look, I thank the commitment from the staff, your staff, Ms Miller, on the reporting. It is a very comprehensive report. I encourage our community to look at these reports, and we are doing what you asked us to do and what we said we would do. And these reports give actual documented evidence that this is being done. I encourage community members across the Glenelg Shire to engage through the council plan development for this council for the next 4 years. And as councillors have discussed, it either is at one of our open sessions for community members or pop into one of our customer service centres and pick up some literature, or go online to Your Say Glenelg. And if you've got a great idea or something you want to see happen in the Shire for the next 4 years, please let us know what it is so that we can include that in our plan and consider it. Councillors, thank you for the conversation on this important performance report tonight. The recommendation, as tabled on page 28, was moved by Councillor Carr and seconded by Councillor Angelino. Those in favour? Thank you. Carried. Councillors, we move on to 9.7, which is the Portland Foreshore lighting project and the ceremonial dance space. Mr. Moyne.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report provides information on exactly that and seeks council endorsement for remaining budget allocation of $230,000 within phase 4 of the Local Roads and Community Infrastructure Program, being a federally funded program providing funding to council. The report provides background information on the dance space project as it relates to the funding agreement associated with the Portland Foreshore lighting project through the Regional Infrastructure Fund. A project funding and expenditure breakdown is provided, which outlines the deliverable components of the project and remaining items to be delivered for completion of the dance space specifically. Following an original allocation of $300,000 for the dance space through Council's allocation and use of LRCI funding, as a result of funding agreement contribution and delivery requirements, it's forecast that the total overall project cost will now be $595,500, requiring the balance phase 4 LRCI allocation to be provided to complete the project. The additional LRCI contribution will cover the project funding shortfall without any direct financial cost to council and enable the delivery and installation of the remaining artistic and cultural elements and other associated lighting and landscaping works. There are some key project management learnings to be taken from this project, which will be reviewed and learned from and managed in a better way as funding and other project opportunities might arise for council. Again, the recommendations provided before you.
Thank you, Mr. Moyne. Councillors. Questions?
Yes.
Clarification?
I just want to get the clarification for the public out there that every single dollar of this that was used on this was from grant money and not $1 from the residents.
Mr. Moyne.
Yes, I'll take that as a question, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Confirm
yes,
that.
as outlined within the report, the project will be fully funded either by state or federal government overall.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Jarl. If there's any further questions?
No, happy to move the motion.
Councillor Noski?
Yeah. Happy to move the motion. The recommendation that Council endorses the inclusion of the ceremonial dance space stage 2 within phase 4 of the LRCI funding program and authorises the Director of Infrastructure Services to negotiate and approve the required funding requirement agreement variations with the LRCI delegate.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor McDonald?
Second that, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Noski?
No, I don't think anything more needs to be added, Councillor Stevens. Maybe I will add something. Look, I think this is actually an important asset for the community and it will be seen to, despite the fact that there is a fair bit of scuttlebutt about the community that may not appreciate its value to us in the long run yet. But I think it's a very important long-term community asset, and I think the fact that it's been funded entirely through federal and state government funding is important, and we just need to get it finished and get on with life.
Thank you, Councillor Noski. Councillor McDonald?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to say that the incredible uptake of use of the foreshore since the pathway and the new lighting went in, I've noticed an incredible increase in people using that area, and it'll be lovely to see the ceremonial dance space being used once that whole area is opened up and completed for the community to be part of as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Jowett.
I'd just like to, because I might have forgotten to do it earlier, just thank the staff for putting together this report that we asked for last month. It's very comprehensive.
Thank you, Councillor Jowett. Thank you. Councillors, the motion has been moved by Councillor Noski and seconded by Councillor MacDonald as tabled on page 30. Those in favour? No. Carried. Thank you. Councillors, there's no urgent business, but we do have a number of questions here, so please bear with me. I will move, councillors, we will deal with the Portland Senior Citizens signage car park and Secretary Treasurer. I note that 2 councillors have a conflict of interest. Thank you. I'll ask you to leave the chamber. For the audience and those online, if a councillor declares a conflict of interest in an item, then they must leave the chamber for the entirety of the discussion of that item. Thank you. As I said, it's in relation to the Portland Senior Citizens signage, car park and Secretary Treasurer. And we have a question here from Olga Hogarth of Portland has asked, the Portland Senior Citizens applied for signage to be placed on the corner of Kate Nelson Road and Hood Street in 2019, and still there is no signage. There is a request. Where is the request sitting, and why hasn't anything been put in place as yet? The Portland Senior Citizens use the Foreshore Community Centre in Portland, which has an existing facility sign. Council is currently working on signage style guide, which will be used to inform any new or replacement signage to be installed on council buildings and properties across the Shire, including this site. The second question is that a house is being built beside the Thorthorpe Centre car park with their driveway exiting through the car park. It is very dangerous with cars and trucks coming out fast through the car park from this house. Why was the house permitted to be built in this location with a driveway through the car park? And who is liable if any accidents occur due to this? The land north of the Thorthorpe Community Centre, which is 2 Hood Street, Portland, is zoned General Industrial 1, Residential 1, where there is a right of a single dwelling on that allotment. The land has a legal right-of-way over the Thorthorpe Centre car park that is registered on the certificate of title. Liability for traffic accidents is not determined by council. What you are referring to as a car park is actually a right-of-way on the title and provides access to this site, and it's simply a parking each side of a laneway. The liability obligations for users are the same for any publicly accessible road, laneway or thoroughfare. The Portland Senior Citizens require assistance in finding a secretary or a treasurer to help keep the club running, as we are having trouble finding people to assist. Is this something council could help with to help keep our group running and providing for our community? Council generally doesn't get involved in the day-to-day matters of committees who are incorporated associations, as separate governance rules apply to such structures and committees. Finding and retaining volunteers is really hard for community groups, and I would encourage anybody watching tonight to reach out to the Portland Senior Citizens group if you are interested in volunteering in your local community. We would be happy to promote the vacancy via our social media to raise awareness if you are able to provide us with details of the vacancy to council. Another resource available to the community groups is through Volunteering Victoria, and groups are encouraged to visit this site for further support in managing your committee structure. And if you like, we can put that in writing to you so that you have that for your committee.
Can I ask you a question though?
No, you can't. I'm sorry. Our governance rules don't allow it, but I'm happy to talk to you after the meeting. Thank you. Councillor Pepper. Oh, Councillor McDonald, thank you. I was going to get you to go and track those boys down.
I'll give you the support for that.
I think Councillor McDonald's gone out.
Councillor McDonald's gone. That's okay. Councillor Norsky, come back. Councillor McDonald, I thought we had two Councillor McDonalds at the table again when he jumped up. Councillors, we also have some questions in relation to green waste, vegetation maintenance and regional growth from Andrew Stevenson from Cashmore, who has asked, regarding the recent proposal to introduce green waste bins in our area, while I understand the environmental benefits of such a program, I'm concerned that a significant proportion of our community still lacks basic rubbish collection services. Given this, could you please explain why the proposed green waste collection is being prioritised when fundamental waste management needs remain unaddressed? Many residents are currently without access to reliable waste collection, and it seems critical to resolve this issue before introducing additional services. I would appreciate further clarification on this matter. Councillors, I hope that this answer that I'm going to give you clarifies that we haven't proposed the introduction of green waste. Councils are required to comply with the Circular Economy Act of 2021, which requires a 4-bin waste service to be established by June 2030. After recent consultation with Recycling Victoria, this date is likely to be brought forward to the 1st of July 2027. At present, the two-bin waste and recycling service is available within the Glenelg Shire, with a requirement for council to introduce a food organics and green organics and glass curbside collection within the next 2 years. These are legislated requirements that council must seek to comply with. Rubbish service collections are set in zoning under the contract comprising a compulsory zoning and opt-in zoning. The opt-in zoning is set as an en route compliant for waste collection providers travelling between compulsory zones or areas where people opt in. There is the ability for households to request services with approval determined on various factors, including property accessibility, location, and contract conditions. If residents are unable to directly service by council's waste collection service, they are able the option of taking their waste and recycling to various waste transfer stations located across the Shire, or alternatively, they can opt to engage a private waste collection service. Properties that are not included in council's waste collection service are not subjected to any charge on their rate notices. The second question is in relation to grass and vegetation maintenance along the Henty Highway medium strip between New Street and Crows Road. As discussed by Councillor Carr previously, it has been observed that council workers are spending time maintaining areas that already appear well kept and do not seem to require such frequent attention. The over-maintenance seems to be a misapplication of resources. Could Council consider reducing over-maintenance and reallocating efforts towards under-maintained efforts or areas not under Council responsibility, such as the Vic Roads medium strip? This could help streamline efforts, reduce unnecessary costs and lead to smarter planning and benefits to the community. The road reserve and median strip along the Henty Highway is not Council's responsibility to maintain. This is the responsibility of the Department of Transport and Planning as the road managers. Councils continue to raise concerns with the Department of Transport and Planning regarding the lack of maintenance and mowing in the area. Council reviews mowing and landscaping maintenance schedules to prioritise resources and council will maintain land and to ensure that the maintenance aligns with seasonal condition requirements. The allocation of resources to land not managed by council without contributing funding will come as a direct cost to council and therefore the ratepayer. Council will continue to engage with the Department of Transport and Planning regarding roadside conditions and continue to advocate for improved management on behalf of the community in the Shire for that section of the highway. The third question is, as Council works on a 4-year plan, how do you intend to measure the return on investment beyond just monetary values by focusing on the increase in visitors in the region? What strategies will be put in place to ensure these investments attract more tourism, stimulate local businesses and bring long-term benefits to the entire Shire? It would be helpful to understand how the plan will deliver not only financial returns, but also a broader positive impact on the community and regional growth. As you are aware, the Council is currently developing its Council plan for 2025-2029, and the result of this consultative process will help establish new council priorities. The type of measure tools that will be put into place to ascertain ongoing progress and success in the new plan will form part of the overall plan development. Councillors, we'll move on to a couple of questions from the northern section of the Shire now. We have a question on Casterton outside school hours care and the Kathleen Milliken Centre roof repair. Catherine Scott of Casterton has asked the following question. Families in Casterton are desperate for before and after care in Casterton. Thrive isn't able to fill the position for the service in town, leaving families desperate for before and after school care for children. Not everyone in town has family to care for their children, and this is now affecting their work hours and leave balance. Is the Shire able to rethink about reopening before and after, I would assume it's care, since closing down in June of 2024 to help families in Casterton? Councillors, the Thrive is in relation to a state government service and they call it Thrive. The 2023 service view of Kathleen Milliken Centre was undertaken. The review identified several areas of service that provided increased risk due to being outside the scope of our core business. This included the outside of school care hours, which is before and after school care. It's important to note that Council experienced similar staffing challenges when before and after school care was delivered by Council. It is worth noting that Council is currently has vacant educator positions at the Kathleen Milliken Centre that remain unfilled and that are required to deliver current programs, and any change to the service would certainly exacerbate this. And certainly that's in line with all of our care. Catherine continues with a further question. Due to the hailstorm damage last year, the Kathleen Milliken Centre was closed for a few weeks for repairs and reopened for families. We received an email stating that the centre will need to close this year for roof repairs, trying to align it to a period of closure such as the Easter school holidays. Families are wondering, does the centre need to be closed for roof repairs? And if so, please give families a month or so to arrange care for children. Families are already struggling with no before and after school care and finding someone to watch their children while working. Yes, the service will be required to close while these works are completed. Families will be notified of the closure dates as soon as Council receives confirmation by our insurer. We hope as soon as possible the works will be completed during the school holiday period. There's a further question here on the Casterton bus service for 4-year-olds. Anne Hurst of Casterton has asked the following question. Can we ask why 4-year-old students are no longer able to be dropped off and collected at the Kathleen Milliken Centre in Casterton since June of 2024? All other communities across the state provide this service, and we have 8 to 10 families that have small children that would use this service if it was available. In 2023, a service review of Kathleen Milliken Centre was undertaken. The review identified several areas of service that provided increased risk due to being outside the scope of our core business. This included the out-of-school care hours program, which led to a review of the required need for the school bus service, which has been used by the school-aged children because of the out-of-school hours care. The National Quality Framework was also reviewed during this time, with regulatory changes resulting from that review required to be implemented by Education and Care Services by March 2023. One of the key findings related to the transportation of children. The review identified that despite educated to child ratios applied during the periods of transportation, the requirement to conduct a risk assessment, transportation can still present heightened risks and safeties for children, particularly very young children. Often during the period of movement between a vehicle and an education and care service premises or other location, serious incidents across the nation have occurred when children get off and on vehicles and are checked in and out of service, such as the Glenelg Shire Children's Services, was not prepared to absorb this high level of risk. The bus service required a qualified educator, depending on the number of bus routes children were travelling on, to leave the service, both morning and afternoon, to collect the before and after school care children. And on very small number of occasions, kindergarten children, and from the bus to the bus stop. This put additional pressure on meeting levels of education children ratios at Kathleen Milliken Centre, with staff shortages right across Glenelg and the state. We just do not have the staff available each day to cover this additional service. The impact on our core service delivery far outweighs the demonstrated need for this additional service. Our priority is to ensure educators with required qualifications can meet the educators-student ratios so we can continue to provide high-quality care and education to the children who are enrolled at Kathleen Milliken Centre. This decision was made based on operational factors, viability, past usage for kindergarten-aged children, along with the impact of our core business of care and education within the centre. Madam CEO, can we follow those up with letters to those people that have questioned? Is that how, or an email, a reply email?
We usually just ask them to have a listen to the transcript, Madam Mayor, but we can follow it up if they
With a
wish.
reply. There's a lot in there.
There's a lot of detail.
There's a lot of detail in there. Thank you. Thank you, Madam CEO, for that. And if we could make sure they get all of that information, perhaps in an email, that they could digest. Thank you, councillors. And thank you. We'll move on to our confidential reports, and there's a recommendation there to close the meeting to the public. Councillor Khan.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. I'd like to move the recommendation that the council meeting be closed to members of the public, pursuant to section 66 of the Local Government Act 2020, to consider the following reports. 12.1, Independent Audit and Risk Committee member appointment. 12.2, Contract 2024-2512, Glenelg Shire Ridge Road South Rehabilitation Program 24-25.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. Councillor McDonald, a second. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Child Pat.